All right, thank you. Thank you and welcome. So I am excited to be here and a little bit of kind of prep work to get you ready. This is going to be an interactive session and you're going to want to have the worksheet. So I am dropping into the chat a link. Now the link will take you to a read-only Google document. And there's a variety of ways for you to take that and turn it into your very only editable copy. One is if you're logged into Google or Gmail or what have you, just save it, make a copy of it and save it to your own drive, and voila, you've got an editable copy of the worksheet. Alternately, you can choose from the file menu to download the worksheet in any one of a number of editable formats, and just, then you'll have it on your local computer. And you could print it. And I'm also going to upload, also into the chat window, the very same document as a Word doc. And I'm doing it as a Word doc because lots of other programs know how to read those, including Pages on Mac, and the various open office programs. I happen to be a big fan of LibreOffice, use that all the time. So, but make sure you grab your copy of the worksheet, either by following the link that's in the chat or by downloading the file that should be showing up in the chat momentarily. So, yeah. So, now that I've got you all like working on that, actually, and if you're having trouble, or you don't have a copy of that, type something in the chat, because I've got the chat open in front of me, so I can kind of keep an eye on that as we go. And I found a good way during these things to communicate is through that chat window. And don't be shy about having little side conversations going on in the chat. Sometimes some of the best learning comes from those side conversations. So that is all good and welcome. All right, seeing no SOSs being typed into the chat window yet, I'm going to assume that people have their own editable copies of that worksheet and that we're ready to launch here. So here we go. Organizational impediments. And I want to start out using the chat. This is going to happen a lot. You're going to see I like to use the chat a lot. When I say impediment, just the word impediment, what comes to mind? How would you just define an impediment, right? If someone asked you, hey, what's an impediment? Scrum Masters like to talk about impediments. What's an impediment? It's a pain in the butt. It's a blocker. It slows down work. Things that hold us back. Blocker, unanticipated, unbudgeted additional work, barriers. Yeah, whatever gets in the way of teaching the strategic goals or achieving perhaps. Anything that is reducing productivity, something's broken. Yeah, bad things. Well, I like that. That's like right to the point there. Things that are counter to our goals. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's something that's getting in our way. Definitely something that wasn't in our plan, that is slowing us down, making it more difficult to achieve the things that we want to achieve. So for purposes of tonight's conversation, a natural byproduct of existing habits in history. I like that. And Sasha says Murphy's Law. So for purposes of tonight's discussions, I'm going to further subdivide the universe of impediments into local impediments. And these are the ones that Scrum Masters and teams deal with all the time, right? These are the little annoying things that come up that we hadn't planned for. They're getting in the way. They're slowing us down. And thank goodness we have a Scrum Master, right? Because our Scrum Master is our advocate and our person we can always go to get help with addressing these impediments, to help get us unstuck and get us going again. And of course, a big part of being a great Scrum Master is that we are constantly on the lookout for impediments. And then, we are an impediment bulldozer, right? Clearing those out so that the team can get back to being productive. So that's, those are your typical, like I'll call them local impediments. Those are not the ones we're going to be focusing on tonight. Tonight, we are going to be examining, organizational impediments. And these tend to be a little bit gnarlier, right? Things that I think of when I think of organizational impediments, very often these are impediments that are impacting more than one team. Very often, these are things where people from different parts of the organization are going to have to work together to solve the problem. So it's very unlikely that our Scrum Master can jump in and, save the day. We're going to need multiple people from different parts of the organization, usually, to cooperate and work together to solve these kinds of impediments. Very often with these types of impediments, people are actually incented to do the wrong thing, right? There are things that will actually reinforce and encourage people to do the very things that are causing these impediments. And frequently these impediments are long-term problems that have been caused by local optimizations, right? There's a person or a team or a group that has optimized the way they do their work that makes their work, go much, much better. But there are ripple effects from that local optimization that are creating wider impediments for other people outside of that group. And also very often with these organizational impediments, there are powerful vested interests in maintaining the status quo. It could be that powerful people simply prefer it the way it is. It could be that there's a perception of risk or cost or other pains associated with changing the status quo, and that may be a contributor to the organizational impediment. I'm curious, what else comes to your mind when you think of organizational impediments? And again, just drop a few things in the chat. When you think of an organizational impediment, what are some of the attributes? What are some of the things that you think would differentiate an organizational impediment from a local or simple impediment? Culture, oh yeah. Conflicting objectives between functions, yep. Someone sent me privately performance reviews. Yeah, I've actually written quite a number of things over the years on the Agile Learning Labs blog about performance reviews and how they play with Scrum and other Agile approaches. Our enterprise tools can often create impediments. Dated structures, dependencies on legacy core components, silos, changes in our technology, yeah. Lack of support from leadership or management can create organizational impediments. Our budgeting model, metrics. Yeah, so often what you measure is what you're going to get. So you got to be careful what you measure. Fear of change. Change in leadership can cause it. Yep, resourcing limitations. Wow, I would swear this is a group that has encountered a lot of organizational impediments. Wow. Elections. Oh, goodness. So yeah, I definitely think you've got the idea here. So in tonight's activity, you are going to be working in a small group. So I am going to be putting you into breakout groups. And we're going to have, let's see, I think we're going to go with 6 tonight. Yep. 6 breakout rooms. And pay attention to the number of your breakout room when you get put into the breakout room, because the number of your breakout room is also going to be the number of the scenario that you are going to be working with in your breakout room. And so, for example, if you're in breakout room 3, you're going to be working on scenario 3. So as you get sent off to the breakout room, just notice what breakout room it's telling you you're headed off to. And in your breakout room, you're going to be analyzing that scenario, and you're going to be making use of a framework that I find really useful. It's a thinking framework. And it's a framework that I actually learned in one of my very first careers. It was my very first career. I was an auto mechanic, and I was taught the 3 C's. So for every car that came in that we did a repair on, we had to be able to document the 3 C's. And it turns out it's a great framework for diagnosing, especially complex problems, and ultimately guiding your thinking to a resolution. So the 3 C's, the first one is complaint. And the complaint is the pain point, right? What do people notice? What's uncomfortable? You know, what are they crabbing about? What are they unhappy about? These are the symptoms. And all too often, we rush to address the symptoms. But what we're better served doing, especially with these more complex organizational impediments, is once we've identified the complaints, right? What are the pain points? What are the symptoms? Then we want to identify, well, what's the cause? And we want to look deeply here. We want to look for root cause. Sometimes there'll be multiple root causes. A variety of ways of doing root cause analysis. One that I like very well is frequently called the 5 whys. And the way that one works is you basically state your problem, and then you ask, why is that so? And once you come up with an answer to that seems reasonable, then you look at that and you ask, why is that so? And you dig into that, so on and so forth. And you don't have to do it 5 times, but it's called the 5 whys. The idea being that you want to dig below the surface level stuff and really get to the deeper causes of the problems. And then finally, once you feel like you've identified a root cause, then imagine, you're a scrum master in that situation. What's the intervention you're going to create, right? What correction are you going to try to initiate? And with these bigger impediments, very often you're not going to be able to do it alone. You are going to have to identify key other individuals in the organization that you are going to have to enlist their help, get them on board, and then work closely with them to address the problem. So the worksheet is going to guide you through identifying each of these 3, the complaint, the cause, the correction. And then at the very end, we're all going to come back here to the main room, and you're going to give a short 2-minute presentation where you're going to walk us through your worksheet. You're going to read us your scenario. You're going to quickly list, what were the complaints that you identified? What do you believe the root cause or causes are? And what correction do you think the Scrum Master should embark on? Now in the worksheet, you're going to be encouraged to try to come up with more than one intervention. Oftentimes, a real good way to figure out the best approach to dealing with something is to come up with 2 or 3 different approaches that might work, and then select the one that feels best. So if there is time to come up with more than one approach, please do that, and then select the best one that you will present back to us. So at the end of your breakout session, figure out how your group is going to present. Are you going to nominate one person to be the spokesmodel and they're going to read everything to us? Are you going to take turns? If so, identify who's reading the scenario, who's reading the complaint, who's reading the cause, who's reading the correction. But, be ready to do that when you come back, because the time box for the report outs is pretty tight. It's only 2 minutes. You're going to have 25 minutes in your breakout session trust me, it's going to go fast. And I will be sending time messages every 5 minutes so you can kind of help keep yourselves on track towards having some stuff to report back out. I am going to drop in on the various breakout groups, and if you're in trouble or things aren't going well, you can always hop back out, leave your breakout room, come back out to the main room, and you'll be able to catch me there, and we'll figure out whatever the problem is. So let's see. Last call for any questions before we begin the exercise. So again, you should...
Let's just recap again what we're doing. So you're going to break us in the breakout rooms. On the way to breakout rooms, there would be a display stating your room number. So please note the room number.
Yes.
Room number would correlate to the scenario in the worksheet that you're going to be working on. The group exercise goes for 25 minutes, and we need to find a spokesperson who is going to present at the end to the group the solution discovered, and group exercise discovers the what's the complaint, what's the root cause using 5 whys or any other root cause digging techniques, and what is the proposed correction as on your worksheet.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. And just to give a quick clue in case you all miss what rooms you're in, I'm going to call out one name for each group just so that person will know for sure which room they're in. Andrew Webster, you're going to be in room 1. BayALN, you're going to be in room 2. PT and Sasha, you're both in room 3. Let's see, Olaf, you're in room 4. Cesar, you're in room 5. And Elena, you're going to be in room 6. So at least one person in each room will know what room it is. But yeah, as you're getting sent off to breakout rooms, just notice what room number you're getting sent off to. And let's see, very
We
good.
check that everybody does have the downloaded document. I don't know if anybody arrived late.
Let me drop the one last time. The link to the document is, I just dropped it. Oops, I just sent it privately to somebody. That's not going to help. Here you go. One last chance in the chat. There is the link for the document. So if you need it, grab that. And without further ado, I'm going to be sending you off in 5, 4.
Of course, what you're going to hear is, we didn't have enough time. That's fun to do it so fast.
I think that
We didn't have enough time.
Minutes. Oh, wait.
Yeah, do we have to extend the sprint? Oh, goodness. I think we're back. I think everybody's back. If you're from group 1, wave your hands. If you're from group 2, wave your hands. Okay, group 3, wave your hands. All right, group 4, wave your hands. Group 5, wave your hands. Group 6, jump up and spin around. All right, looks like we're all back. All righty, I am excited to see how this goes. I'm gonna set a timer over here for 2 minutes. It'd be nice if they had a way to pop up like a little timer that everyone could see, but if that's possible, I haven't figured it out. So group 1, let's see here, hold on. All right, who's at least starting your presentation? Looks like Dale. All right, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. Okay, so the clients have promised a new product will be available at the end of the quarter. The Director of Application Engineering has changed the front-end team with building this new product. The front-end team is currently blocked, waiting on the platform team to create some new APIs. They don't see a way forward until they get them. The Director of Platform Engineering has instructed the platform team to complete some infrastructure updates by the end of the quarter. The platform team is not sure they can get the updates done in time. Therefore, they are ignoring the requests from the front-end team. That's the description. Andrew, to you.
Right. We had 3 complaints in the, within the time limits. I may not cover all of them. The first one is from the front-end team. The directors made a promise, we have to deliver it, but platform team is ignoring us and we can't make progress without them. So the causes, well, front-end team were not consulted before commitments were made. The front-end team has not got a visible roadmap or a viable roadmap or any visibility. If there was a roadmap, it's not being consulted. Different departments have conflicting priorities. You'll notice a lot of these sound like complaints as well. The directors are not communicating with each other, lack of common corporate structure and planning, no scaled collaboration structured. And where are our corrections? Here we go. Scrum Master for the front-end team requests that their director discusses relative business value of both initiatives with the platform director in order to make a prioritization decision. A second potential solution was scope alignment, better decomposition of work, so valuable progress on both could be made. And the third was just to ask if they could delay the infrastructure work until the next quarter. There we go. How are we doing for time? Oh, what was our favorite? I don't know. Did we have a favorite, guys? Dale, you're muted.
My favorite was the lack of organizational alignment on priorities.
Yeah.
All right.
Composition of tasks is always a tricky one.
Yep.
Yep. And by the way, each one of these scenarios is actually based on a real life client that I've worked with over the last decade plus. Some people who are here with us may recognize their companies or former companies in a couple of these scenarios. I will mention no names to protect the innocent and the guilty. Nice job, team number 1. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And I actually gave you like a few extra seconds. So going forward, the other team's going to give you 2 minutes, 30 seconds because it is a lot to fit into a 2-minute report out. Okay, who's going to be our at least first spokesmodel for group 2?
For group 2, I'm planning to talk about the complaint, the cause, and correction. Do I need to explain the scenario as well?
Yes, or if you'd like me to read it, I could do it.
Okay, no, it's fine. So in the interest of time, I'm going to try and summarize it. There's the org has recently adopted Scrum. They launched a product. The product was well received by the market, and quality improved. There was also a critical bug that made it through. The CEO was very upset about the bug. One of the responses to it is that the VP has pulled the QA people out of the cross-functional teams that launched that product, and it triggered some percolating existing conflict between the VP of QA and the VP of engineering. Now, in the scenario, the VP of product is concerned about the move. They are pleased with the market results of the product, but they're concerned that the org is backsliding on their adoption of Scrum. And the VP of product has good relationships with the other VPs and the CEO. So the complaints that we saw in there was that the CEO was very concerned about the missing critical bug. The VP of product is concerned about the adoption of Scrum in the organization and whether it's taking a forward step. And the VP of QA is concerned about getting blamed for the critical bug that made it through to the production environment. Now, as far as causes, the things that we try to sort of do a 5 why, and some of the things that we identified was there was a critical bug that slipped through the cracks. There was a new way of working that was a part of the reason. It was a new process and people are learning. One of the things is that their definition of done may have missed it, or maybe it wasn't followed. If it wasn't
seconds.
the definition of done. The technical practices could be improved as far as unit testing and TDD DevOps. And there's also a org issue about the rivalry between the VPs of engineering and org. The corrections we saw that we identified was a mediation between the VPs. There could be some coaching and training for the teams. We also thought an important part of it was the internal marketing, because it felt like the successes of the product got overwhelmed by this one bug that was a critical one. And then we also identified that another idea was to create a beta program to help identify these kind of issues in the field before going live with everyone. That's it.
Nice. Well done. Yay. We could like clap that way. Yay. All right. Team number 3, who's going to be your at least initial spokesmodel?
I will. I was going to share the screen, but I guess I could just read it. So basically, the organization has development offices in Germany and California. Each location has programmers and testers, and the company has 2 products under development right now. Each product has a geographically distributed team working on it, and basically each team is split roughly equally between the 2 different offices. One of the product owners is based in Germany and the other in California. So the product owners and engineering managers in each location have noticed that the distributed teams are moving pretty slowly and they have some communication difficulties. While there's been talk of reorganizing into 2 co-located teams, there are many people that are concerned about this idea. So while the programming languages are the same for each product, the code bases are also distinct. So that means the customer segments and functionality of each product are very different. And that means there's also going to be a steep learning curve for people who get moved to a different product. The managers and product owners aren't really sure how to proceed, so things have kind of remained the same for a long time.
So we identified the following complaint: communication difficulties, slow delivery of the customer value, high level of rework, and low team morale. Going down into the course analysis using 5 whys, we identified the following problems. It's different time zones, language barriers, cultural differences, and unclear requirements. When it comes to correction, we found clearly 2 separate paths. One is how we could make this teams effective with the same setup. We would talk about setup, team agreement, building, team building, socializing. As a part of it would be agreement on the office hours when teams could overlap and rotate it this time to make it fair to both sides. Invest in communication and collaboration tools, local optimization when possible, so that people in one location are working around the same areas of code, and of course in-person visits on a regular basis. Alternative plan number 2 is a rework when we are talking about creating 2 separate
20 seconds
teams
left.
in 2 different locations. That requires a lot of knowledge transfer, code review, more programming, pair programming, and of course in-person visits as well. And finally, plan number 3 is combining of these 2. Initially work in the same environment and invest more in cross-training. And once it's sufficient, then make a reorg, assuming that there will be enough knowledge and expertise on both sides. And I think I rest my case.
Yay. Nicely done. Nicely done. All right. Team number 4. Who is your initial spokesman? Okay, go for it.
I'll be speaking on behalf. All right, here we go.
So here's the story. The core secret sauce is one of the company's products, was written in relatively obscure programming language, Prolog. Only one person in the company is familiar with that code. There are 3 products with 3 teams, mostly implemented in Java, and then that all depend on that original Prolog code. Each has their own team, development team and product and Scrum Master, but they all have a dependency on this Prolog developer, and so each team is frequently blocked. And of course, the Prolog developer has announced that he's going to retire. So we identified the problem as being like a single point of failure. It's all, the lottery factor or bus factor. It all boils down to one guy. He can't take any vacations. There's a threat to business continuity as part of the complaint, because if this guy leaves, we're in trouble. And then just simply technological debt in the form of, you've got all your eggs in one platform, one basket. Is it aging? Does it age well? Those kind of questions. And then there's potential lack of collaboration amongst the teams. These can be various numbers of different causes. Some of the more interesting ones was like job security. Maybe the Prolog developer was just super paranoid about losing his job. There was maybe no interest from other teams because, they're not interested in Prolog. How are you going to find work in doing Prolog elsewhere? 1 minute. It could be political. It could be in terms of power struggles around territory. It could be like too much to do in terms of a roadmap and everybody's overworked. So in the end, we didn't get to a third one, but we identified 2 core corrections or solutions to this. Number 1 is to have the Prolog developer become a consultant or a traveler that travels amongst the sprints and kind of like either mentors or coaches them in that language and however they need, supported by the teams and the product owners. So the difficulty there we might see is the product owners may not want to sacrifice that time because it's going to slow down development. It's going to push their roadmap out a little bit further because this guy can't dedicate his role. He can't dedicate to doing development, and it also slows the other teams down. And then just the teams themselves, maybe they still they don't really want to do Prolog, so that for the short-term solution is everybody hold their nose and learn how to do it. For the midterm solution is to replace Prolog altogether. Obviously that will take investment dollars from the business. So management needs to be involved. Architecture needs to change. Basically the whole organization has to be involved. And that's basically it, and there's potential risks involved that they could lose, their tactical advantage of their secret sauce of being Prolog. Yay. But that's about it.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Thank you.
All right. Team number 5. Who's starting off for team number 5?
I'm going to do that, Chris. This is Gopal. All right, so the scenario is this Scrum team creates marketing collateral, banner ads, and marketing emails. The team includes writers, artists, and technologists. The team's output is low because they are frequently blocked waiting for approvals from the head of marketing and the company's staff lawyer. An internal marketing process requires the head of marketing to sign off on all new marketing material. The head of marketing tries to attend to these approvals as quickly as they can, but they are quite busy. Sometimes they sit in the inbox for 4 to 5 days. The company's lawyer has an assistant who acts as a gatekeeper. This assistant prioritizes things based on urgency and risk. Incoming complaints and IP issues are considered high priority. Approval of marketing copy is considered to be a fairly low priority. The company has recently made a well-respected member of the marketing department the product owner for the team. The PO has good relationships with influential people throughout the company. So that's the scenario. So we talked about what are the complaints, and we settled on one, which is the team creating marketing collaterals output is low. That is the complaint. Then we talked about why is it the marketing collateral team's output is low. The first answer we got from the why was the team is waiting for approvals from head of marketing and the company staff lawyer. Okay, so then the second why is that the case? And the answer we came up with was people who should approve are very busy, both the marketing side and the lawyer side. Okay, so why is that? So from a marketing perspective, the approval sits in the inbox for the head of marketing for 5 days. From the lawyer side, the company's lawyer's assistant is prioritizing the approval flow. Okay, then why? Maybe we thought nobody cares about these approvals. And then we jumped into a solution. We came up with one solution that is basically bring the approval process as much as possible into the team. So what does this mean? For the PO, who is the influencer among the different departments, will have to bridge between marketing and law office to change the priority and increase the throughput for the team. For the Scrum Master, yeah, so for the Scrum Master, he or she will have to update the Scrum ceremonies and artifacts, which is the working agreement, the definition of done, the RACEs, the processes, etc. And then this is one thing where we ran out of time, which was like, okay, if we do this, what is the impact, potential, cons for this? We were thinking maybe there might be further disconnect between head of marketing and lawyer with the team, what the team is doing. We couldn't finalize that, so that's where we ran out of time. So that's what we have.
Okay, team 5. All right, and last but not least, who's going to start out as spokesmodel for team 6?
It's Robert. I'll take it from here. And is it okay if I just share the screen and read it out? Oh, yeah. It's disabled. It's disabled. So it's okay. I'll read it.
I can probably...
I'm going to read it too fast.
Okay.
So scenario 6. The organization has recently adopted Scrum and formed cross-functional teams. The reporting structure hasn't changed. Programmers report to engineering managers and ultimately the VP of engineering. Testers report to the QA managers under the VP of quality. The performance review process, which is overseen by the VP of HR, is based on achieving individual goals, which fold into departmental goals set by the VPs of each department. The testers are being measured by how many bugs they report. Programmers are being measured against progress towards an infrastructure rewrite that the VP of engineering sees as vital. The individual goals that the team members have are not aligned with the goals that the product owners have, making it difficult for product owners to rally whole teams to deliver stories from the product backlog. The VP of product is frustrated by the slow rate of delivery from the Scrum teams. So I had the pleasure of working with team 6. We agreed upon the primary complaint, which is slow delivery to the customer. And when we started to decompose and evaluate the cause, the root cause is the fact that the reporting structure has not changed. Individuals, and diving into that, what we agreed upon is that individuals are not incented to deliver fast or with quality. Individual goals are in conflict with departmental goals. There's cultural inertia. Existing leaders don't want to change. It seems as if they want quick and dirty fixes over a true change, which may take more effort, rather than looking at the outcomes that they should have. There's probably lack of budget and resources for the appropriate change effort. And we're worried that there's conflicts of interest between financial reporting to investors versus establishing effective change.
About 30 seconds.
And regulatory restrictions. In terms of correction, we found 2. So primarily, change the incentive structure itself, and so tie the incentives to team level incentives and tied to the quality and velocity of the products delivered. We want the Scrum Master to begin working with HR leaders and eventually with the other leaders to redefine the incentives, the performance reviews and incentives. And then also change the structure itself. The Scrum Master would need to articulate the pain and root cause of the slow delivery, hopefully partnering with a product owner themselves, and then they as a group follow up with the chain of command and have them change the reporting structure overall. So I think I'm within time now.
Yay. Nicely done, Team 6.
All right.
All right. And as we're wrapping this one up, gonna open the chat up. If you've got some final questions, comments, something like that. I've got a couple of minutes for that sort of thing. And then I've got one or two things I'm going to share, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Elena and company. So if you've got a question or a comment, I see the comment could have helped to see the docs. You know what? That is a good learning for me. Next time I will change it so that everybody can share their screen and we can actually see the docs as people are presenting. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Did anyone see like their organization, either current or past, in any of these scenarios? Oh, I see heads nodding. And it's funny. There's been a couple of private messages to me from people. You know, yes, a couple of people recognize their company. Oh, yay, the Google Doc collaboration worked well. That's good that worked out. Oh, goodness, I've lived through all 6 scenarios. Wow. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so Olaf, all those scenarios are in the doc. Oh, are you saying you'd like to see the solutions collected? That's a great idea. I will tell you what, folks, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if someone from each group will send me their document or a link to it, if it's still a Google document, I will, after the meeting, put them all together and then send a link out to Alina and company that can send it out to the group. Absolutely, that's great. Oh, Olaf was recently involved in the retirement scenario. Yeah. That's fabulous.
Nice.
All righty. So, warning, danger, Will Robinson. Chris is about to put his salesperson hat on for like 30 seconds.
You totally have rights, and no hurry. We have time. Don't worry.
My company's Agile Learning Labs, work with lots of companies helping them adopt Scrum and other Agile practices. We teach certified Scrum workshops. For the next couple of months, we're focusing on certified Scrum product owner. So in July and in August and in September, we have online certified Scrum product owner workshops. So I just dropped the link for the dates and all that in the chat. I set up a special discount code for those of you who are here. Really hard to remember, the discount code is BayALN. So if you or somebody you know would benefit from taking a certified Scrum product owner workshop, grab that link, grab that discount code. It'll save them a little bit of money. Also, if you'd like to connect with me, turns out I just dropped my email in the chat, so that's super useful. Also, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I just dropped my LinkedIn link into the chat. And so there, I'm going to take off my salesperson hat. And thank you very much, everybody, for riding along on this. It was really fascinating for me to drop into the different breakout rooms and hear the progress and hear the different approaches you took to analyzing the scenarios. I really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for having me.